Hello and welcome. My name is Eric. My Discord name is Eric Carver Coding. I'm coming to you today, July 21st, 2025, with another HackerRank full tutorial problem. We're going to walk through, we're going to work it out, and specifically, we're going to work on between two sets. It's an easy problem-solving basic 10-pointer, and wasn't as absurd a problem as the last one, but let's give it a go. The summary I have described as the user is given two lists of integers and is tasked with finding what numbers between the two sets are multiples of the first set and factors of the second set. So it's looking for some commonality between the two. All right. And like I said last time, looks like I'm going to be doing some tutoring for some people. I'm not exactly too sure what services I'm going to offer, but if you're looking for some help maintaining accountability, keeping your code quality, efficient, knowing what your code is, you're fluent in it, maybe you just need some group help, maybe you need some one-on-one sessions, maybe you just need me to look over your code and offer a couple ideas. In any case, let me know. I'd love to be able to help. So, with that said, here's the problem. And let's read the description. There will be two arrays of integers. Determine all integers that satisfy the following two conditions. The elements from the first array are all factors of the integer being considered. The integer being considered is a factor of all elements in the second array. These numbers are referred to as being between the two arrays. Determine how many such numbers exist. They give an example here where list A has the numbers 2 and 6 inside it, and list B has the integers 24 and 26. Now it says that there are two numbers between arrays 6 and 12. There are two numbers between arrays 6 and 12. 6 modulo 2 equals 0, and 6 modulo 6 equals 0. 24 modulo 6 equals 0, and 36 modulo 6 equals 0 for the first value. Goes on to then say that 12 modulo 2 equals 0, 12 modulo 6, 24 modulo 12, and 36 modulo 12 all equal 0 for the second value. So for those two numbers, 6 and 12, it says return 2. Now, first time I read that, that's really confusing to me. It's probably confusing to you too. So the function description is complete the get total x function in the editor below. It should return the number of integers that are between the sets. Get total x has the following parameters. So it has two lists of integers, integer A list and integer B list. Both are arrays of integers. And it will return one integer, which will be the number of integers that are between the sets. The input format, the first line contains two spaces. Well, it's going to talk about the first line being space separated, but the program breaks that down for us and then gives us just the arrays, I'm sorry, the lists A and B. So those are all separated for us. I sometimes get confused about the constraints. I apologize for the quiet time. So it says N and M are between or equaling 1 and 10. Well, that's related to the numbers coming into it. So when we see our lists of A and B, the numbers will be between 1 and 100. So that's what's relevant to us. The N and M is processed before it gets to us. So it says it has some sample input, 2 and 3, 2, 4, 16, 32, 96. So 2 and 4 will relate to the A list, and the B list will be 16, 32, 96. So we'll be looking at the space between list A and list B. Now it says the sample output will be 3. And when they break that down in the explanation, they show that 2 and 4 divide evenly into 4, 8, 12, and 16. So those four numbers, 4, 8, 12, and 16, are the numbers in between the sets that it feels are compatible with the A list. And then the B list, 4, 8, and 16, divide evenly into 16, 32, and 96. So only three numbers will qualify for all the requirements, and therefore an integer of 3 needs to be returned. I didn't create a flowchart for this one today. I apologize. Bad preparation. But let's start working with the code. So this one confuses a lot of people, but you're looking for the digits between the two sets that are common to both sets. So in that instance, the numbers in between the sets need to be multiples of the lower list and factors of the greater B list. So what we could do is we could, just to see what's being sent to us, I think it's a pretty safe, good practice to do a print statement for B, for A and B. We're being sent in A and B to our function. So let's look at the data. Let's print A and B. If we scroll down and we receive two lists, list A and list B, which is what it said we would receive. So when we look at this, the numbers, the digits in between the sets, I think that confuse a lot of people. So the numbers between the sets are in a range, and that range goes from the greatest number of A through the smallest number in B. So in this instance, with this example, test case 0, the numbers in between the sets would run from 4 through 16, 4 being the biggest in A, 16 being the smallest value in B. So we have to come up with a solution that tries all those numbers in between the sets from 4 through 16, and it has to be a multiple of all the digits in A and factors of all the numbers in B. Factors being numbers that could be evenly divisible into those numbers with no remainder. All right. So the print statement did what needed to be done to prove things to us. So let's close that. And let's create some notes. So first we got to create a collection of the middle numbers. I guess I should say the integers, the middle integers that range is going to be from the max of A through the min of B. So if we create a for loop, we could create a range, and we'll do it from max of A to the min of B, but we always have to add one to the range because it doesn't include that last digit in that range. So for I in range from the max of A through the min of B plus 1. And what are we going to do? Well, I tell you, let's test our data before we go any further. Let's print I and just make sure that it's testing the true proper range. Let's run that code. So it's going to run through the range that I had set, max A through min B plus 1. And assuming I did it correctly, it's going to go from 4 through 16. And it did 4 through 16. Those are the numbers in between the two sets. All right, so that looks good so far. So the logic, the pseudocode there would be something along the lines of if I is a multiple of all values in A, and if I is a factor of all values of B, then that would satisfy the problem. And then we'll need to increment the counter that we create. All right. Well, all right. Well, it looks like two things will have to be true. Two things will have to be true, including A, all the numbers will have to work, and B, all those digits will be factors. So what I propose is we create a flag that keeps track. So for each I, let's create a counter that says A solution equals true, and the B solution equals true. Now, if it gets all the way to the end and both are true, then we know that instance of I is a true solution. And if it's at all a fail, then we'll change it to false and we'll know at the end. But this will help with the processing. So So let's go through the digits of A, and if I modulo J is not equal to 0, then yeah, I think I got that right. So it'll look at I, divide j into it, take j, it'll divide into I. Yeah. So I'll take j, which will be a value of a, divide that into I. If that's not equal to 0, then it'll change the flag to false. And then for the B solution, let's do the equal and opposite for K in B list. If K modulo I is not 0, then we'll change B solution false. Yeah, I think that'll work. So then we have to check. So we got through that instance of I. So now we have to check to see if those A solution and B solution flags are still true. And if they are, then we can increment our counter. Did we ever create a counter up here? We didn't. So here we go. How would you do it? I'll tell you how I did it. I said if A solution and B solution, if those are both true, let's increment our from there. I think that's it. We can return solution. There you go. Come on, HackerRank. Check those test cases. All right, it's 100%. So what did we do? Ignoring all our tests, we set up a counter to track the total number of solutions because that is ultimately what this problem wants. It just wants to know how many integers were both factors and multiples of A and B. So we set that to 0 to initialize it. We create a for loop with a range from the max value of A through the min value of B, but add 1 to that, so we include the min value of B. We set up 2 tests. We test to see if all numbers in A are valid as being multiples, and then for B being factors of B. So we're checking for each instance of I for that range to see if it properly is a multiple of A and a factor of B. And these are the easy formulas to check that. If any of those numbers fail, it changes those flags to false. If it gets through the whole instance of that I and both flags are still true, then it adds and increments that. I don't know if you hear that screaming kid in the background, but I apologize if you do. Um, it'll increment that counter for solution. Once it gets through all instances of I for that full range, it'll return our solution counter. And that's it. Something new I'm doing now is once we're done with the code, I'm just an intermediate coder. So why don't we talk to Grok, one of the AIs that are out there, and ask it how an expert would have done this problem. Grok, I am a Python coding student and you are my teacher. Please look at my code and tell me how a Python expert of 10 years would have completed this problem. Please make sure it is professional and Pythonic and concise. Right, so it says, here's how a Python expert with 10 years of experience would have solved between two sets problem in a professional, Pythonic, and concise manner. All right, yeah, as I thought, there would be an expert means to do it using least common denominator, greatest common denominator, and least common multiple. These are math functions that I'm not familiar with in the Python world, so I wasn't able to pull from that. But look at that. 3 lines of code, and it solved that. I'm too much of an intermediate to know really exactly what that says, but I'm not going to learn too much from this one. But oftentimes, I'm sort of close to um, how how someone with a lot of experience would have it done, and I learn a little bit. This this I'm going to have to look at that function, the GCD and the LCM libraries, or the math library. In any case, that's that. If this video was helpful, do me a favor, subscribe if able, hit like, comment, tell me how you would have done it differently, how I did it badly, or if I did it all right. I changed and upgraded my microphone so I don't sound like a leprechaun anymore, but maybe I sound like something worse. Either way, let me know. Let me know that someone out there even watched it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just doing this for my own benefit. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Oh, I forgot to hit the stop button. It's only my second video.